high beta tech as promised. Scott, let's start with Apple because you know it's really the best of the best. Held up really well on Friday, closed almost flat in a down day, but it's also a consumer play. So how do you understand the trade?
Apple is the leading stock out there. This stock is a key barometer. This actually gives me clues on whether or not the market's going to hang in there, close in the lows, maybe go positive. Both real big negative days last week, the stock held in well. If you look at the chart right now, look what it's holding. It's holding that earnings gap. This was the gap up from earnings. You had a nice quick move to 404, came back in, which is fine. Look where we came from. This was the break above this descending channel. Here was your nice little flag pattern before the breakout into earnings. And now, as long as it stays above this, 384, 385, I think traders are going to trade long against this. And once the market clears away some of its problems, this will be at new highs before anything else in this stock market.
And then today you'd be going long on that if it can hold that level?
Well, on Friday, it held the level, and now it's opening back up around 396, 397. Okay. So I wouldn't chase it up here. I think it needs some more time before new highs. But, there are time and place, and right now, it could go back above 400 today, but I wouldn't chase it with size. Maybe just trade it.
And conversely, you wouldn't be selling either right now?
Well, if you were jumping out of your skin when it was at 385 on Friday and now it's 10 points higher, that means you can't handle it. Maybe sell some. I think it's going to be in this range for a little while until it breaks above it. So you sell the rips, you buy the dips, and stay in Apple.
That was a really good soundbite right there, I have to say. All right, and Amazon's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, it was down a little more than 0.5% on Friday, had that killer quarter, solid outlook, good demand, also levered the U.S. consumer, but no one seems to care because it's such a good company. What would you think of the same trade?
Well, Amazon also had great numbers. It went to new highs, but it needed a rest. A rest like Apple, like some of the other big movers. 220 is important. 220 held on Friday. It's opening up today. Let me show you that 220 in Amazon. If I could write the
A-M-Z-N, there you go.
There you go. Here you go. Okay, a lot of good trades here. This was the last time it broke out above this 200. This was your earnings move. It's still holding that earnings gap. I think it needs some sideways consolidation, but then when this market's ready to go, this will break above this 225 and go to new highs. Trade long against this earnings gap, which is about 220.
And what about Netflix, down about 0.25% on Friday?
Netflix was a different story. Netflix came out with earnings. It had a huge gap down. But then something happened on the way to the gap downland. It didn't close in the lows. There was some buying commitment to it. If you look now, it looks as if that quarter is behind it already. Okay, I see a small descending channel. This one actually has a better trade in front of it versus the other ones because it's not extended. If this starts to get above, what's this level here, about 273, 274, I think it gets going again. I think you could still buy Netflix.
All right, and then I want to hit Google real quick too because it has been holding up really, really well. Want to check in on this stock?
Google, earlier in the year, I was a little confused. I'm like, why isn't the stock acting better? It was one of the go-to stocks. It acted poorly, but then finally, a powerful earnings quarter came out, and it's been acting great ever since. This should be on your list. It should be traded when we have stronger days. It is also holding above the earnings gap. If you look here at Google, it didn't even go down and test it. You saw Apple came down to test the earnings gap. You saw Amazon, this is well above it. To me, a little bit more sideways work, and it's going to start breaking above 625, and we'll be at new highs in the year at some point.
Let's round it out with the Chinese internet. Want to go to Baidu and Sohu, the two we take a look at. Sohu especially had a big move on Friday, right? Or held up really well on Friday.
Sohu's been playing catch up, and Sina's been a little quiet, but Baidu, another one that had great numbers, ran into numbers, sold off. But if you know your pivot levels, we talked about it actually with options profits, you could be buying it at those prior highs. If you look here on Baidu, we've also said it too, Alex, but this was the old high. Here was your earnings gap. Came in, got some people out, and some guys wanted to buy back, buying the dip versus 150. If you did so, you have a great entry, and now with more time, it should get going. This is a leader. All of these stocks that we just showed over the course of this past morning, these are the stocks to watch. These are the stocks that are going to give you clues whether or not this market could sustain this up move and we could see follow through. If they start to fade, I think you should be very, very skeptical of the market action this morning.
Fair enough. So tech. High beta tech. That's what you have to pay attention to.